Hello, this is Anna Poirier from Yoga Body Nutrition, and we are doing a really, I I don't know, I feel excited about this. It feels like an exciting topic. We're talking about wisdom within, um, and I'm calling it like uncommon. I'm putting the label of uncommon tools and practices to help ease stress, increase body, mind, health, and vitality. And um, I'm excited about this because it is, yeah, it's just I feel like the wisdom within is something I've been working with for a long time over these last decades, actually. At this point. And it's something that I feel very passionate about sharing with other people. So, yeah, I think that, that's what I can say about that. And please do let me know if you are here live, because we are streaming on Facebook Live right now. Please do say a hello. Um, and just let me know that I'm even coming through. All right. So let's see. I'm just checking on Facebook right now. Yeah, looks like we're good to go. Awesome. Okay. Technicalities. Hi, Tracy. Technicalities out of the way, and we're good to go. So I guess we've done now since starting the group, which is fairly new. We've done 2 lives so far, and I'm trying to keep this in engagement. And I also, whether you're watching this on Facebook and also whether you're watching this on YouTube, because I generally will be posting these on YouTube, I really value your feedback, whether it's during the presentation. I don't even know if I want to call it a presentation, but I guess it's a presentation. So whether it's during the presentation or if you're watching it later, please offer feedback, even offer, I'm like all ears as far as what do you want to hear about? It could be anything I get within the realm of what I teach, but it really, like I always say, like, how to, ask for what you want. Which, interestingly enough, I feel like is kind of related to what we're working with today. And really what I wanted to start with is, as I said, we've had a couple of Facebook Lives already, and I want, you know, I feel like, and regardless of what I know about looking at, like, from an astrological standpoint, as a lot of you know, I've been infusing more and more of that into my work over the last few months. But regardless of my knowing about that or even looking at that, I have definitely started to feel kind of this shift in energy, like an energetic shift. And then when I compare my notes of what I look at astrologically, yes, we are experiencing a shift. And I would just like to check in with you. And I would say this shift is actually fairly new. So like in the last week, um, that how do you feel? Like, and you can just type something in if you're watching this. Like, do you feel something? Have you felt a shift? I don't want to name it. I am going to talk a little bit about it, but I don't want to name it right now yet. And feel free to just share that and let me know. I know it takes a minute for me. I'm a little ahead of what you're actually seeing. So, but I would love to hear that, and then invite you into a moment where you can pause, and hopefully you're already doing that if you're watching this. You know, I am notorious for sometimes watching things and maybe doing something else, but I really do try to make an effort to be present. And I would invite you to really be present in watching this. And even if you're watching live and you feel like you want to engage, but you can't really fully be present, then do watch it again. And really be present with it, because I'm going to invite in some practices and things like that today that I feel are very powerful and simple yet powerful. And yeah, Tracy says yes, a shift, but it's complicated. It is complicated, and I don't, you know, I think, yeah, right, but you know, hopefully this next little segment that we're going to go into is going to be an opportunity for you to break it down a little bit, maybe. And hi, Maria, good to have you. So thanks everyone, for those of you that are here live. It's always nice to have that. I would do it regardless. I would talk to myself. So I invite you right now to actually pause and close your eyes. If you're in a place, well, I'm assuming that you are in a place that you can do that. And close your eyes, because by closing the eyes, hi, David, you have this opportunity to cut off some of the mental noise, which we're definitely going to talk about today. And if it's helpful for you to place your hand somewhere on your body, then I would invite you to place your hand somewhere on your body. And as you take a couple of deep breaths, maybe a few deep breaths, then ask yourself, what am I feeling now? Don't try to think about it. I know that's hard. But what are you feeling now? And where are you feeling it in your body? So this is going to help take us out of the mental figuring it out. What are you feeling, and where are you feeling it? You may actually, when you do this, feel a lot of energy or movement, or even I would consider like a buzzing in your head. But by taking our awareness inside, a little bit more, closing the eyes, turning into our body, you can get a little more into the sensation, rather than the fact that maybe that buzzing in your head is a lot of mental static and thinking and, you know, anxiousness or whatever. It's possible that you're feeling something in your belly, maybe around your heart. We're in the season of the heart right now. So again, what are you feeling now? Eyes closed. Mine aren't closed because I want to keep an eye on people popping in. And where are you feeling it? And then see, once you're there, you know, maybe it has a flavor to it. Or, yeah. And just notice it. No, maybe notice it shift as you bring attention to it. And then I will ask you, the next step in this is, what do you wish to feel more of? Don't overthink this. Just let it kind of pop up. What do you wish to feel more of? Whatever that is, maybe it's a color that comes to you. Maybe it's an image. Maybe it is a word. You know, is it like you want to feel more expanded? Now I'm gonna give it some words now, but allow whatever was true for you to be true. And then do you want to feel more expanded? Do you want to feel lighter? Do you want to feel more grounded? Yeah. Frank, I'll talk about that, about the season of the heart, very soon, or at some point during this. I plan to. So what do you wish to feel more of? And then, you know, our feelings are so connected, right? Our emotions, our feelings, our thoughts, even so connected to what we're experiencing in our life, that I'm going to couple this with, what do you wish to bring more of into your life right now? Really ask that from a deep, authentic place. I really plan to go fairly deep today, if you haven't noticed already. But what do you wish to bring more of into your life right now that could be related to what you wish to feel more of, right? Maybe, maybe not. So it's a little bit taking the more energetic or emotional into potentially the physical, because what you may want to bring more of may be physical manifestation. It most likely is a physical manifestation. So with that said, now just let yourself set a little intention. And I will invite you now to place your hand over your heart, because let's plant this intention in our hearts. So whatever that is, whatever you wish to feel more of, whatever you wish to bring more of into your life, set an intention, connect it to your heart. And if you do have something, maybe you're taking notes or doing something like that, but then go ahead and let yourself come out of that, and just maybe jot down a couple of words that came up for you. Those are, I see those a little bit as like a guiding light, perhaps, or something to come back to. Okay. So yeah. And to answer the question that Frank brought up, was what do I mean by the season of the heart? I'm going to address that for a moment, and then I'm going to go a little bit more into it. But I actually mean a couple things. So one is that we're in the summer season, and I teach a lot. So I teach from various disciplines. Probably the main ones would be like holistic nutrition, Ayurveda, so science of yoga, and also Taoism, because the type of yoga that I primarily teach now, the yin yoga, comes out of Taoist philosophy. And then I also teach from astrology and things like that. More of the astrological sciences, let's put it that way. So in Taoism, and I'm trying to think, yeah, probably not so much in Ayurveda, but in Taoism, this is the season. This is the summer is associated with the heart. Okay, with expansion, with joy. That's the healthy, elevated energy of the summer season. And whereas the shadow energy from Taoism would be depression, would be like a closed heart. So anyway, that's a real simplified answer to that. And then we just transitioned astrologically into Leo. Leo rules the heart. So courage and, and warmth and expansion. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about Leo, but that kind of answers your question a little bit. All right. That said, I want to go a little bit into these uncommon tools and practices. So I have 6 of them, kind of like a 7th-ish um, to share with you today. And these are really ones that I pulled from that are around stress, easing stress in our body mind, and also increasing health and vitality. I think those two kind of go hand in hand. But let's start with number one. And I think those of you who have followed me or come to my classes or what have you have heard me talk about this a lot. But we're going to talk about stress and the yin yang balance. Okay, so this is going to be a bit more from the Taoist side of my teachings, I guess. So I'm not going to go into the depths of it, but I do want to touch on it. And when we look at stress, stress is a yang condition. And actually, we are in a yang season now. Summer is yang. Why is it yang? Because there's more heat, that's yang. There's more sun, that's yang. You know, we have more light, we have longer days. And, you know, those would be a couple of the reasons that it's more yang. Now, in Ayurveda, it's a pitta season. It's hot. We're getting towards the end of it, it's starting to get dry. Now, yang, this is very simplified. I just want to be really clear because there's a lot of nuances with yin yang. But when things are overly yang, so stress is also yang. The antidote to stress would be anything that would be more yin. Now, this is why, and I talked about this in our very first live that I did a few weeks ago. This is where I feel that cravings come into play. So if you're really stressed out and the body is contracted, so contraction, that's a yang state of being, contractedness, feeling tight and wound up and, you know, anxious and all of that, then what do you crave? I mean, if you think about it, what might we crave? And also, I think I talked about this in that first live, was if you're eating too much yang, primarily that's going to be concentrated animal proteins, then you also may have specific cravings. It's just an interesting, coffee's very yang too. So a lot of times people who drink a lot of coffee, they might crave alcohol at night, because that's very yin. Or ice cream, that's very yin. Or if you're very stressed out, ice cream, yin. I know that my little indicator that maybe I'm running a little too hot, especially in a yang season, I'm trying to do too much. It's things have definitely gotten busier lately, and so then I start to get a little heated up and a little yang, a little too young. I know when I'm wanting some ice cream. Yep, that's my indicator. So that's going to be more yin. Now, how do we use this wisdom to counteract or ease stress, right? How do we do that? What I'll say about yin, and again, this is very simplified because there's a lot of shades of gray here, is yin has a calming effect and an expansive space producing effect, because you know when you feel stressed, you don't feel like there's a lot of space, like you kind of feel hemmed in, right? I know that's the experience that I might feel. So yin has this expansive quality to it. All of a sudden time expands, you can relax, it's receptive, it's not about doing, it's about being. So in a very simplified way, being is going to produce more yin and consequently ease stress. But that's easier said than done if you are stuck in a stress state. So I like to look at it from the perspective of, okay, I teach yin yoga, and actually I'll be doing my second summer class next week, and I'll type in the link or something like that at some point here. But something like yoga, but definitely yin yoga, which focuses primarily on creating more of a yin state of being in all ways, is going to do that from a practice standpoint. I would also say, I actually would say meditation less so, because meditation, sometimes if someone's really stressed, it's hard to do, and it contributes to the stress. Nature, generally being in nature, is going to have a yin effect, have a de-stressing effect on you. Also, at this time of year in particular, where things start to dry out, because stress will literally dry out your tissues. Like, that's what causes us to age. Our skin starts to wrinkle, our bones start to become more brittle, our joints become more creaky. That's all like an overly young, and that the quicker that happens, so people that sort of prematurely age, it's just the stress balance, the stress imbalance, I should say. So how do we rehydrate the tissues? Quite simply, water, of course, but especially at this time of year, incorporating hydrating foods, the ones that are naturally out there. If you're in the Western Hemisphere, then that's applicable. If you're not, then you're experiencing winter, in which case we flip-flop. But things that are going to be cooling to the nervous system. And that could quite honestly be like sticking your feet into cold water, or getting out and having bare feet on the ground. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this, but that can start drawing that energy out of the head and draining it down and cooling the nervous system. Now, you're welcome to watch that first live where I really go a little bit deeper into this, but I did want to touch on that. And I have to say that my absolute favorite, really my absolute favorite practice would be yin yoga for this. And that's really because it's a body oriented practice. So you're in your body, and the body is kind of doing the work rather than you having to do the work, which is hard sometimes when we're stuck in that cycle. Let's go to number 2. And of course, if there are any questions that come up, type them in as we go along, and I'll try to address those. But number 2 is your thoughts really have more potency when we're talking about what we're talking about here, which is the wisdom within, and using that wisdom within to ease stress and increase body mind vitality. That your thoughts, the flavor of your thoughts, is more potent than diet and exercise. But I have a big caveat here. So, it's an interesting one. You're like, oh, okay, my thoughts. So I really should be focusing on my thoughts. Okay. However, it is much easier to be able to cultivate what I would consider clean thoughts, uplifting thoughts, a good positive thought process, if you are feeding yourself cleaner foods, right? Think about that. So there's a little bit of a chicken and the egg thing going on here, but the honest truth is that food and what we put in our bodies is chemical. Okay. And so if you're literally putting garbage in, it's going to be really, really, really hard. You're going to be fighting an uphill battle. It's possible. You can see it. There are those individuals who you're like, wow, look what they put in their bodies. And yet, I don't know, I think they're like divinely connected or something like that. For us mortal humans, it is going to be much easier to cultivate those thoughts. And here's where we can put them together, right? As I decide to eat this meal, can I pause? Can I breathe? Can I connect to myself? Maybe it's not the perfect meal, but can I infuse it with the energy of what I want to take into my body and now take it in from that place? So I'm calming my nervous system. I'm connecting. I'm infusing it with what I want to put in. Hopefully it's, it's good, it's clean, it's vibrant, alive food, colorful, lots of plants. And then I can feed that into those positive thoughts that I wish to cultivate. So it's just being able to work with this connection. Now, when I do the astrologically based readings, the body blueprint readings, we start to look at the different aspects of your individual chart and how like where are the pitfalls for you? Where might the pitfalls be for you according to your astrology? And then how to kind of work with those as far as how you approach what you eat, the habits, how, like kind of setting yourself up for success based on your blueprint. Very fascinating. I love doing these. It's so interesting. I'm such a geek about it. So those positive thoughts, right? And how do we feed those? And how do they feed us? Let's go to number 3. Number 3 is the heart of Ayurveda, I feel, which is digestion. And right now, being in the season that we are, according to Ayurveda, we're kind of at the height of Pitta season, but actually starting to transition into Vata season. And conversely to what you might think, where you're like, it's summer, it's warm, as long as you're in this hemisphere, that you'd think that digestion would be stronger. But in fact, it's not. It's actually weaker because seasonally right now what grows are those things that are super easy to digest. Things that you pick that as one of my Ayurvedic teachers says, are cooked on the vine. So you pick a tomato, it's ready to go. It's ready to eat. You don't have to do anything to it. So actually digestion peters out a little bit at this season because things are lighter and we can just digest them more easily. So in order to, if the digestive fire was stronger in the summer, it would create more heat in our body. We need that more in the winter. So actually that's when digestion is stronger. And it keeps us warm, and it also allows us to digest those harder to digest, heavier foods. So easy to digest, lighter, hydrating for this season is going to put less stress on your body. Now, there's all different forms of stress, right? There's the mental stress, emotional stress, there's the body stress, and they're all connected. They really are. And, if you're finding yourself struggling at this time of year, one thing that can happen depending on your Ayurvedic dosha is that you might start to notice as the summer goes on that like one imbalance that would come up would be having acid reflux. Okay, that would be one type of imbalance that could come if you had more pitta, if you were stronger pitta. Now, another one, because of the dryness that starts to come in, then it might be that you actually have more, you start to notice more gas and bloating. And like drier stools, even like more difficulty. Now, conversely, it could be that they're looser and there's undigested particles. So it would be, in order to ease the stress, we want to fortify digestion and really specifically look at what your unique profile is. And I use the model of Ayurveda. I love it. I'm not strictly Ayurvedic, but I do think it gives us such a great roadmap, especially when it comes to digestion. So it'd be great, to kind of discover that. And that's a lot of what I end up leading students and clients through in my programs and things like that. But there's also ways to just find out, start to reveal that, go down that journey. Number 4, and this one, if any of you are more familiar with Ayurveda, it is, I have to say, this one is hugely powerful. This one is hugely powerful if you tend to suffer from insomnia, especially insomnia related to overthinking and anxiety and worry. And then, this may be less of an issue, but still, depending on your type, on your dosha, it may be an issue for some people. If you tend towards like kind of cold dryness and things like that, then putting oil on the bottoms of your feet before you go to bed can be a really good practice. Now, in Ayurveda, they recommend sesame oil. It's messy. Just gonna give you a little warning. And it's kind of heavy and sticky. Now, for my dosha, too heating, too much. I would not do that in the summer season. For some people, that could be appropriate, but you could use another oil. You could use some olive oil. Now, it would be good depending on the oil you use. I usually use like a good absorbing one. I make a concoction that has shea butter and avocado and coconut. So it tends to absorb. I don't really worry about it. But you might want to put something on your feet just to let it absorb a little bit. But this, if you are somebody who suffers from anxiety, from waking up because of a racing mind, feeling ungrounded, having trouble with insomnia, try this. Try it. Highly recommend it. And just see how it works. Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious if anybody's even tried it who's watching right now. You can always type that in if you have, or if you've heard about it even. I always like to see that. I know I've shared it with a couple of my really strong like Vata clients, and they're just like, wow, they're hooked on this one. So number 5, I'm gonna move on. I wanted to get a little physical today, and I might be a little challenged in my space, so I'm gonna do my best to demonstrate and work with this, just because of the way that I have myself set up to do these. But I actually did a workshop in this at one point, and for especially for stress related to like trauma, which I would say that most people, given our current circumstance, right, of a pandemic, a global pandemic, economic uncertainty, should I go on? That there's an element of trauma, and it depends on, it's interesting too, actually, it's really fascinating as to how, when I look at from the body blueprint perspective at different people's charts, you get to see what's your relationship, how do you handle change, and how do you handle challenges, and then how do we address that, how do we allow you to modulate your own system. So I happen to have a very high change tolerance in my chart, in my astrological chart, which I didn't know, before I really started diving into this, but it made so much sense when I saw that. I said, yeah, that makes complete sense, because I do. I have this very strong tolerance to it. Not everybody has that. So this is a great tool for working with trauma because it really comes down to this very deep, like just innate biological reflex, I guess. And it's shaking. It's literally just, inducing, getting yourself to shake as much of your body. And if you're watching and you want to stand up and just try it, just, and think of like shaking something off, like you're shaking it off, you're shaking it off. Now, when I did the workshop, it was something we actually went through exercises where you did different exercises to actually fatigue your muscles so much, to the degree, mostly in the lower body, to the degree that you would induce like a shaking response, because you fatigue, especially the psoas, which is that deep muscle, which actually, when we are in a trauma response, if you heard a large boom right now and you thought that the world was crashing in, you'd probably contract into a little ball. And that's the psoas going. Psh. Unfortunately, what happens is that will happen, but we're not necessarily in that trauma, that type of trauma. So anyway, shaking is going to literally rewire the nervous system. And after you're done, do it for just even 2 minutes or something and just shake. I'm not going to do it because then my voice vibrates. And then there's this calm. So again, we're using the body, bypassing the mind, because honestly, you can't talk yourself out of a stressed mind, right? A stressed state of being. You can't talk yourself out of it. Nobody else is going to talk you out of it. Maybe they can massage it out of you. Touch is another one. But I believe in using the body to kind of, shake off this energy, basically, and then be able to start from a fresh place. So I highly recommend giving that a shot. And yeah, and I'm going to move on to 6, and then I sort of have a bonus one, but we'll move on. So number 6, and let me see if I can. I'm gonna try and demonstrate. I'm on kind of a day bed right now. You'll get some kind of a visual. We'll see how that is. Number 6 is, this comes from Ayurveda. It also comes from Taoism too, because it's linked with Tai Chi. So what we do is we're going to take a wide stance. You're going to have your legs probably about like maybe a foot to a foot and a half apart. Yeah, like about a foot and a half apart. And we're going to bend the knees, literally taking this stance and deep breathing. What it does is it takes upward moving vata energy that shouldn't be moving up, that's moving up into your brain and kind of making you feel ungrounded and anxious and all over the place and scattered, and it brings it down. Even more powerful would be to do this outside, like in your yard, on the dirt or in the grass or on the beach or something like that. But I'm going to go ahead, and I apologize because this is, you're probably going to get this funny little view of me, but we're going to take, so at least you can see my lower body, and then I'm going to bend the knees and let them bend to a comfortable depth and hopefully tracking over your toes. And then from here, we can just draw the arms up overhead. And then exhale through the nose, bring it down. And let's just keep the hands at the heart. And deep breathe here. Now you might notice, depending on your strength of your legs, that the legs feel tired. Be at a comfortable bend for you, but it's okay to have them be working a little bit. Taking maybe like 5 deep breaths. And just notice, what this is doing, right? It's so subtle. And yet it's bringing that energy that can, like I said, if you're stressed or anxious or anything like that, that starts to rise up, we're bringing it down, we're grounding it down. So shaking, what do we got? Shaking yin yoga, bending the knees, and it's that knee bend. So don't just widen your legs and stand there, bend the knees. It's like that little nuance. And just try these. I invite you, everything that I teach is like, try it. Before I go into the sort of the bonus one, I want to say I want to say one thing. So this energetic shift, okay, like Tracy said, yes, I feel it. And it's complicated. And it is because, so there is a name for it. I just want to say that. Every year, this year happens to be a little more potent because of just the significance of everything that's going on. And, if you kind of believe in this, there's also some numerology behind it, things like that. But every year on the 8th of the 8th month, so 8/8, which is, we're in the 8th month, so it's August 8th, there is something called the Lion's Gate or the Lion's Gateway. Now it's called Lion's Gateway because it happens in Leo season, and Leo, the astrological sign Leo, is represented by a lion. And this gateway, which would have been Saturday, actually, this past Saturday, that was the 8th, it's about more fully awakening your divine light and embodying divinity within this form. Okay, so like I said, I am going to go deep today. And, but I teach yoga, and so I'm sure those of you watching are on board, or at least curious, right? So this Lion's Gateway it signals this opening up. So they almost consider it like a portal, right? Like of embodying divine light and all that, and embodying in the physical form. And it's it happens, I guess it happens not like exactly on the 8th every year, but right around there, depending. But it's marked by the alignment of the earth with this star called Sirius. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't. Sirius represents mythologically abundance, harvest, and fertility. So it's actually a very auspicious moment. And so, I had mentioned about the heart, right? And I said this is happening during the time of Leo, and Leo is associated with the heart center, and along with representing some other thing too, but it really represents the individualized expression of the divine or the creative, of this kind of expansive, shining of the light. Sirius, I think, is like the second brightest star in the sky next to the sun. So it's kind of like the second sun. They sometimes call it the spiritual sun. And it's thought to light up the spirit and help illuminate our higher minded goals and ambitions. So this is where I invite you, think about what that intention was that you had when we first started. We planted into the heart. And so this is a time when we can actually, when we set those intentions, rather than just sort of maybe not having the awareness, it's nice to have the awareness and set the intentions to illuminate these higher minded goals and ambitions that we have. And I feel like, that's such a gift. And the more of us that sort of open to that, the more we can put forth this positive energy, if nothing else. If any of this, like, just you're like, well, okay, that sounds a little off to me. If nothing else, we're all just setting out positive intentions and positive energy. Now, this can look a little differently, which was why, like, you know, Tracy said it's complicated. Yes, she feels a shift, but it's complicated. If this will look a little differently depending on what your chart is, right? And you know, and that's something that you can always look at, or in a reading or what have you, like kind of look at like what's happening for me specifically around this, and it can be really fascinating. My little bonus was that I wanted to offer out, because you know, I've talked a lot about like, how do we bypass the mind and be able to shift ourselves into a healthier state of being. And I love essential oils for this. Love them, because essential oils, they go right by the rational brain. They're pretty much immediate. And I'm going to just give you like my top 3 that I would choose, both because of the season and because of our topic today. And those would be frankincense, orange, and a blend that's made by Young Living, that's called Valor, which is so perfect for the season right now. And these are really powerful, uplifting yet grounding, get that sort of abundance mentality, spiritual connection, you know, sort of all of the above. And yeah, so that would be my bonus. And I want to finish us today with I'm just going to post this I'm going to post 2 resources and links into our comments section. And I'll do this wherever you're watching this video, you'll see this, whether it's below the video or in the comments. But the first one is, if anybody is interested in joining for our last yin yoga class next week, which is actually going to be on the new moon. So it's a great sort of initiation into a new cycle. Here is the link to register for that. And those are online classes, and you can join live, or you can join, you know, you get the recording. So you have access to the recording, and you can do it as many times as you like. You have access to that for a full week. And I do want to put in the link too for anybody that might be interested. I'm doing kind of a promotion right now for the body blueprint readings. Normally they're $149. And I'm offering a few more for like half price. And this is where I look at your astrological birth chart and kind of integrate it with some of the Ayurvedic based health principles, and support you in a deeper understanding of how to relate to your body and ultimately to food and the different practices that you integrate. A lot of what I talked about today. So I will put that link in as well, just for anybody who wants to snatch up those last few that are available at a discounted rate. That said, let's take a meditation together. So I just really, I want to say thank you to all of you who've joined. And as we drop into meditation, maybe just take a minute and get yourself comfortable. It's going to be a short meditation for those that have difficulty. Go ahead and close the eyes. And this is what I'm calling your wisdom within meditation. This is about tuning into your wisdom center. And this might give you just a little bit of illumination as to what is your personal wisdom center. So close your eyes. And as you close the eyes, take a few breaths. And allow those breaths to go a little bit deeper than maybe they would normally go, meaning that there's a little more consciousness, a little more intention around how you're breathing. And then notice where that breath starts to flow a little more easily. Maybe there's a certain area of the body that it's flowing into, and just try to create some ease, some fluidity, some length, some depth, and some softness to your breath. And as you drop into this, as you drop into yourself again, ask your body, where is my wisdom center? Where is my wisdom center? And allow the answer to be where your attention naturally goes. Don't overthink it. I know it's hard, but is it in the heart? Does it naturally want to go more into the heart? Does it naturally want to go more into the belly or the solar plexus? Or maybe into the third eye? I would say these are like the 3 or 4 primary, what I would call wisdom centers of the body. Just notice if your attention, your awareness wants to go more into one of these. If you're not clear, just pick one. Just pick one. And allow your breath and your awareness to live there as you inhale and exhale. And then once you've landed on that wisdom center, go ahead and just take your first 2 fingers of your right hand and like gently tap. Just gently use those fingers to tap on there. If you don't feel like tapping, that's fine, but I really like it. It kind of brings energy to the area as you're there, and I often find that it just feels good in a weird way. So just let yourself gently tap the area as you breathe, as you tune into your wisdom center. And as you're doing this, bring like almost like you're tapping in that intention that you made, right? That positive intention, so that you're like bringing the energy, the knowing, the vitality, maybe it's even abundance, health, whatever that you desire, that you're like tapping it into this wisdom center, and you're also kind of like activating it, awakening it so that it's there to serve you. Take a couple more breaths like this. And then you can just let your hand relax if you've been tapping. Just let yourself breathe and kind of feel what's percolating. My hope, my intention is that you feel just kind of a sense of ease, and that maybe you feel a little different, maybe significantly different than when you first started watching this. And know that those intentions, those desires are now inside of you. They're in that wisdom center. And maybe ask your wisdom center to now guide you in taking the steps, in taking the actions and doing the things and engaging with the people and eating the foods and, incorporating the practices that are going to best serve you. And then you can start to slowly bring yourself out of that. And if anybody wants to share like a little word or a little tidbit in the comments, just, if you liked it, if you didn't, if, maybe it's a word of just how you feel, great. If not, that's fine. I would love to hear that. And I also really hope to see those of you or to connect with those of you who decide you'd like to do a body blueprint reading at my little promo rate. Of course, if you have questions, reach out. I'm here to answer any questions about that. And also in the yin yoga in my second, in my new moon, my final yin yoga of the season, of the summer season, next week on Wednesday, and we're in the recording. Hopefully, maybe I'll see some of you in both. And just really appreciate your presence and being here. Really looking forward to connecting again. And yeah, Tracy says more relaxed. Yes, good. Love that. With this, I'm just really going to allow you to absorb. Feel free to continue to comment under the video. Thank you, Frank. Just kind of let me know how things go. I love engaging with all of you and being able to build community in this way, especially at this critical time. And I will see you again next week, maybe in yoga, and for sure in another live. So until the next time, I send you a lot of love and a lot of goodness, and use that body wisdom. It's a powerful force. All right, so this is Anna signing off. Till the next time, ciao.